Boom.
Welcome, everybody, to Live Connection Podcast number 32. My name is Matt. I'm joined today by, what's your name again?
I can't remember.
Neither can I. I actually went to say Evan when I started off. I'm joined here by Jack and Matt over there, I think. And
Hi, I'm Matt.
Yeah, we got two Matts here. Although on the camera, it doesn't actually really say, you can't see that it says Matt, but his tape says Matt. We've also got Peter on the control desk as usual. Luckily, you can see him in all of his glory in
you betcha.
frame at the bottom of the stream. We're going to get started with this podcast,
You're
boys.
looking fresh today, Peter.
Thanks.
Is
It's
he?
really, I really just put on a jacket to cover up my muscle shirt.
Oh.
So I don't blind all the
Like
viewers.
from behind, you look all right.
Yeah.
Wearing Christmas socks. No one can see that, but
No.
they're there.
Do you guys want to see?
No, we don't show feet. We don't show feet on this stream. Oh my god.
There it is.
There it is. I also didn't notice we had a roaring Christmas fire in the background when I walked.
We did. I thought that was, proper and festive.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
ironic
very
because
proper.
it's
Nice and
sitting in
proper.
front of a real fireplace that we have behind us. So
Man, Matt just outright stole my joke.
yeah, I know. Well, I gave you the chance to say it and then you didn't. So I was like, all right, guess it's my turn. So sorry, pal. That's how capitalism works. On the topic of Christmas, this is our last stream before the Christmas day itself, and then our stuff's gonna slow down a bit just over the winter break, and we're gonna be right back at it too.
Are we doing any streams over the holiday break? I don't know. I'm not going to be around.
Peter goes out of town for Christmas, and the majority of our stuff we do with him.
Might have a few impromptu streams.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can pull together.
I won't be there for any of them.
Check out our Twitter for more information.
Exactly. But the point I was making with that is that it's almost Christmas. So it's exciting. It's always a happy time of year. Feels good to be done school for the semester, he says to the guys who don't go to school. And like the three of us all are super busy with work. So it's not like we can really breathe easy necessarily. But I don't know.
Just three of us.
Yeah.
You don't get to know which three.
Oh,
Take your pick.
I forget that Peter's here.
Peter works.
I'll just leave. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks.
Anyways.
Hey, leave the keys.
Yeah, we're going to need to get back in here. Wow. For a second, I thought he was actually leaving. That was longer than Peter's normal bits.
Normal bits, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, Drew says he'll run the stream. You guys are good.
nice.
Drew, welcome. You are now the 7th member of Live Connections. Really weird. 6 was a really weird number for us. So it's good to have it back to 7.
We actually already have 7.
No, not after
we
you
don't.
left.
No.
Oh, because I'm actually rehired. I don't know if you knew.
Oh,
How did that happen?
I
Man.
sent a quick text to HR, Jared.
Jared answering text.
Is HR is responsible for hiring people?
I mean, who else of this bunch would be?
Me.
I don't know.
Why you? Matt.
Why not?
I don't even know your real name.
It's a test.
So I don't know about anyone else, but I am exhausted and I have 2 more days of work and then I just get to not work for a little while and I'm really excited about that.
Nice.
It's been a long holiday season. It's been really long. Yeah.
Well, what's nice is it sounds like once you finish your shift on Christmas Eve, which sounds like it's your last day for a little while.
That is correct.
It's a pretty easy shift for you for the most part because when you guys close down, you get to do what?
We just crack open a bunch of nice bottles of wine and eat some charcuterie and then go home.
I like that word.
And then I sleep. Yeah.
And then you sleep.
Yeah.
I work at a Best Buy, which means that I have to go to work on Boxing Day, which is I've never been a big fan, but for the past few years, my family have been celebrating Christmas on Boxing Day. Not necessarily just for me, but because my siblings are both married, so they spend Christmas Day with their families. It just also happens to work well for me because I don't have to spend all Christmas Day dreading going to work the next morning, and I usually can't drink or stay up late because I have to get up at 3 for work on Boxing Day. So
Right.
once the Boxing Day chaos is over, I get to go home to a nice Christmas, which I appreciate. But it does take away from the holiday experience a little bit, just because the Christmas Day and the days surrounding it aren't necessarily days of relaxation. It's all right, this was fun, 25th of December. Now let's go and hate our lives for the next 24 hours.
Man, I celebrated Christmas on Boxing Day last year, and it was so nice just because I cannot stand the tumults of Christmas, just how busy everything is and just what a whirlwind the entire holiday leading up to that day is.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it's over, you can just take a breath and then that's it basically. I always take time off work immediately after Christmas and then go back to work pretty much right after New Year's. So I always enjoy that little blurb of time.
Yeah.
But not having to worry about Christmas on the 25th last year was really nice. I liked it a lot. So.
One thing I've come to be really aware of this year is like, I remember I was driving to the mall with my mom and I was like giving her a hard time about something, not even necessarily meaning it. And all of a sudden I noticed there's tears in her eyes and I'm like, oh my God, like what's wrong? Did something happen? And then like she just lists off all like the stuff that she has to do for the holidays and how unbelievably stressed she is. And it like, it confounded me a bit because it's kind of interesting that like things get so stressful and there's a lot of things that make this time of year difficult in a way, which is funny because the entire theme and message of Christmas and the whole holidays is that, you know, you're supposed to be merry and bright and happy. So it's such a fascinating dichotomy, but I find at the end of the day, once you actually get to Christmas Day and all of that effort is paid off, it's like a really good feeling. But leading up to it, it's like almost worse than how you would experience the rest of the year, which is really weird.
Your mom just like not personified, that's the wrong word. Well, embodied. Personified. Yeah, Christmas for me. Because I used to love Christmas, you know, when I was a kid, but as I got older, it was like, whatever. And then I became an adult and I was like, wow, this season really sucks. and it's like, you can't express your disdain to certain people because they don't understand.
Yeah.
There are some people who have never worked in a retail environment or any other environment that's really stressful for Christmas. There are people who really enjoy doing all of the stuff for Christmas that, you know, other people dread because I don't want to go out Christmas shopping after, you know, I've spent 8 hours, you know, selling wine to people and, you know, making deliveries around the city or whatever. Yeah. So it is a really tough season for me. So it is, I'm glad it's over. And I'm sure a lot of people here can relate to that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also a state of mind in a way, because like usually spending an obscene amount of money, especially within the course of a few days, just really doesn't sit well with me. And I know that's the case for like most of the planet. But there's something about Christmas shopping and like even just the season in general where like for that time I'm just like, all right, I'm not going to be counting the dollars leaving my account. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to spend indiscriminately, even though that makes it sound like I'm just like, here have my money.
You just gotta close your eyes, tapping your card. Yeah.
No, it's just it feels good for just that period of time to like loosen the reins on certain things, like not hold yourself to as high a standard and like not come down on yourself for things that you know you would be normally. And like it's not like I'm thrilled at the concept of spending a bunch of money, but I know that it's Christmas and that's just kind of how it goes, right? And
for sure,
I don't know, Christmas shopping's also been I actually don't hate it usually. I usually have to go with someone to really enjoy it. I think that's also a pretty universal thing, is people don't really like shopping by themselves.
I'm an exception to that.
In general.
Yeah, well,
I prefer to shop on my own. I feel less, not less pressured, but I take my time more. I feel like when I'm with someone, I tend to hurry myself up a bit.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on the company, but like when I bought these jeans and like a couple other pairs, I was literally trying on a pair and then sending a Snapchat to like a bunch of people and then rinse and repeat, because I really like getting people's feedback when I do that kind of stuff.
That's a lengthy process. Like these people better be on Snapchat. Like,
well, I send it to enough people that I can expect almost immediate responses from at least.
You know, I'm hurt. I've never gotten one of these Snapchats.
What?
I can't believe
probably
it.
Sent it to our live connection one, got roasted, and then just stopped after that.
Yeah. Well, anyways, like for the holidays, like I would have preferred to shop with somebody else, but I also didn't really mind just like going from place to place and taking care of it myself. And then there's like the gifts that you get for people that you're genuinely stoked by. Like I won't spoil it because the video's coming out on Christmas, but what I got you, Jack, I like was really stoked by. Not the first one, the second one.
Yeah. I wasn't sure for a second there, no, it was good. But yeah, speaking of how tired I am and what the season has been, I had a day off.
Oh, congratulations.
So last night after I got off of work, I went home and I started binging Netflix's new Witcher series. Those of you who know me know I've been a big fan of The Witcher ever since I played The Witcher 3. Started reading the books, reading up on all the lore and stuff like that. And when I first heard that this show was going to be a thing, I hated it. I'd never even seen it. And I was like, this looks terrible. And I think I was not alone in that estimate because
like all those initial pictures.
Oh God,
like,
Henry Cavill as Witcher, as Geralt looked
Huge fan as Witcher.
I love Witcher. He's my favorite character.
Witcher and Smash.
Yeah, it was awful, but I can say I binged through 6 episodes last night. I finished the last 2 before I came here to do the podcast. I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's phenomenal. It's actually like an incredible show.
Wow,
All of my doubts that I had were quenched, like from the first episode.
That's amazing.
Like not even like the entirety of the episode, like probably the first 10 minutes. I was like, they nailed it. And it's so rare that you can see something like that and just be like, yeah, it's perfect. Because I was such like a vocal naysayer for a lot of reasons, because a lot of the castings were kind of weird choices. A lot of the pre-release stuff was weird. I don't have a lot of faith in live action anymore. I'm a much bigger fan of animation. I love the voice cast from the video games, so it's like they're just going to ruin it. They didn't. It's phenomenal. I wish I could go home and watch another 3 seasons, but I probably have to wait a year or more.
Yeah.
Netflix, please give me more.
Let's hope that it's a bit more universally well received, and then they'll come out with more seasons. What period of time within like the books or the games did the show take place?
This is actually really interesting. They did it in a really good way. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
So I assumed they were just going to do the 5 main books, which is kind of what everyone knows. The way they did it is they actually took the time period that the first 2 books, which were collections of short stories, take place, and each episode kind of plays out one of those short stories.
Oh.
And then in between all of that, they're showing stuff from around the time just before the first book, Blood of Elves, and it kind of bleeds over into like the very beginning of Blood of Elves.
Oh, okay.
So
I see.
It's done very uniquely.
Yeah.
It is really hard to follow if you aren't familiar with Witcher lore, which I think is what a lot of critics are saying, because I think it would be tough to get into if you don't know what's going on already, which is it's not a good thing for the show. Like even I, who's like pretty well versed in Witcher lore, had to like go and Google things. It's like, okay, that's happening now. And like, this is happening now. It's like, it seems out of place. Things are done kind of weirdly out of place. And there's a reason for that, because they're kind of time skipping between 2 different points in time, depending on what they're showing on screen. But it's done. You just have to trust me when I say it's done very well. And the resolution at the end of the season makes it all worthwhile.
But it sounds like there's a certain amount of knowledge that you have to have going into the show, which I think can be a bit of a problem.
Someone in chat, Austin, they were saying really liked the Witcher, and they followed the lore pretty well, and they've only played The Witcher 2. Yeah, they're saying they followed it pretty well.
Okay, so if he says that he can follow it pretty well, and he's only played The Witcher 2, then maybe it's more accessible to other audiences. I've seen some critics say that it's like it's just 8 hours of like exposition interspaced with like a few fighting scenes, but it has to be that they have to explain like how the world works and everything.
Well, isn't like every show kind of like that one way or another? Like, isn't that not how storytelling in TV works?
Yeah. And
Austin also really liked the fight scenes.
Incredible fight scenes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I like what I saw from the trailer. I'm not one for really getting into shows, so if I can actually make some time and watch it, I hope that it kind of grabs. I like, even though I haven't really gone deep on any of the games, I do really like the concept of The Witcher and all that. And like, I thought the trailers looked really good, so I'm glad to hear that it's as good as it seemed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think I really only have 2 complaints, and that's some of the casting calls were a little bit weird. Triss Marigold in particular was like, you don't really look like Triss at all, but she played the character really well. So it was like, oh well, I guess it doesn't matter if you don't really necessarily look like the character.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the Witcher, especially the video game, is very like Eurocentric. So it's like everything you see is just, white Slavic people. And then on Netflix, they're like, no, we're going to have other people in here. We're going to have people of color and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that's fine by me. That works.
I see.
And I'm sure there's probably some people who don't like that, but
It's not true to the story.
yeah. But it doesn't matter. It's a fantasy world. We can have people from whoever, and
Dragonborn's in there.
exactly. I can, and it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, everyone in the show plays their character really, really well.
Yeah.
I wasn't, after I saw how everyone acted, I wasn't disappointed with any of the casting.
Right.
And my second complaint is that Henry Cavill sometimes he pulls how Princess Leia sometimes has a British accent in the first Star Wars movie in A New Hope, and sometimes she doesn't. He kind of does that a little bit.
Oh, really?
So sometimes he's speaking with a gruff American accent, like Doug Cockle does in the video games, and sometimes he has a gruff British accent. And it's really just dependent on how he delivers the line. I think you're supposed to understand that that's just how he sounds, but sometimes it's like, oh wow, I forgot that you were doing that that weird British accent. Mm-hmm. And that's not even a complaint. It doesn't take away from anything. So
Yeah.
So Drew asked, what's the difference between the Witcher game / TV series? So essentially, it's take place in two different times in the Witcher universe.
So
right?
so if I'm assuming Drew probably hasn't played the games or hasn't read any of the books, but so the first Witcher game picks up directly where the Witcher books left off, and a lot of people see the Witcher games as a spiritual successor to the books. So the video games are a completely different story that CD Projekt Red wrote themselves, because the writer who originally did the books, a Polish guy named Andrzej Sapkowski, he basically just stopped writing the books at a certain point. I don't really know why. Maybe he thought that the story was finished, but the way he ended it didn't make any sense, because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was not a good ending. So CD Projekt Red was like, hey, we're going to buy the rights from you. He's like, okay, yeah. And then they made this incredible trilogy of video games.
I actually didn't know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so the video games are based off where everything is going in the books, but they don't touch on the material that the books touches on.
Yeah. Because Grayden, I got you the Witcher books for Secret Santa last year.
Yeah.
And you've played 3, right?
Yep.
That's it. So
Pretty on par with Jack. I've also read the books. I haven't read the last 2. I'm working on it.
Yeah,
I've read the first 3, and I've played the game.
So having already played Witcher 3 before reading the books, when you're reading the books, were you able to pick out the beginnings of what ends up happening in Witcher 3 one way or another?
Yeah. And it's almost better, I think, to start with The Witcher 3, because that'll get you interested. It'll springboard you into it, because it's really tough to pick up during the books, because I never read the first 2 books. I didn't read the collection of short stories, The Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny, or what they were called. I only read the 5 main books.
The main books.
And even then, I've only actually finished the first one. I have to go through and read the other 4.
I got you.
So yeah, that's on my to-do list, especially now, because I have a renewed interest in The Witcher after watching this show.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've played just 1 or 2 of the video games, you'll probably pick up on events in the past that they allude to and stuff like that. But then going back and reading the first book, I'm like, oh, so that's what the Battle of Sodden was. Oh, that's who this character was. That's who this character was.
I got you.
That's actually a good point. The books, playing the game first probably, because the books do reference stuff almost right off the bat. The Battle of Sodden is and you should know what that is.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just started the book, it's...
I listened to the first 3 books to try to get interested in the Witcher series, to get me to play the games, which still have to do. But yeah, I definitely was going through those 3 books, okay, that's a battle. I get I was kind of just cruising along. I still enjoyed them, but definitely missed a lot of the little things in between.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to make it my goal to actually go through and play The Witcher 3, because I feel like it's the kind of game that I would enjoy. I'll probably start it from scratch. I mean, it means I'll have to do all the tutorial stuff again, but at least I'll remember how to play the game. But yeah, with all of the amount that we've been talking about Witcher 3 with our top 10 video and everything, and now the onset of the TV show, it kind of seems like a good time to be a Witcher fan.
It's really a great time to jump into, because it is still huge right now. The effects of The Witcher 3 on popular culture are still being felt, because Geralt's appearing in all these games as an offshoot character.
Put him in Smash.
Yeah. And they're still producing content like this, and everyone's still very active in the community. So it's really incredible to see something like that kind of blow out of proportion. And yeah, and if you are interested in reading the books, good news, you can watch the TV show, and you don't have to read The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, because the TV show just, it's like that's what happens.
Just
and
brings it in.
And the TV show is probably more fun to watch because some of the like short stories don't actually matter at all. So
yeah, and also it's a TV show. I mean, nothing against reading books, but like, you know, instead of having to read the book and
sit
imagine
down
the
and
world.
just take it in.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna maybe try and binge through a few of the Witcher books over Christmas vacation. See if I can get a print copy. If not, I might just listen to audiobooks, because never really given audiobooks a fair chance, and everyone loves them.
Oh, I love audiobooks.
Yeah,
I get distracted. I can't do audiobooks.
Yeah, I've been really kind of diving into listening to podcasts recently, and like I've been wanting to get back into reading books for so long, because like when I was in like pretty much all of my like grade school years, like leading up to maybe like the last couple of years of high school, like I would just read like nonstop, and it was like a primary form of entertainment, like as much as I play video games. But for some reason, I just completely fell off with reading one day, and I purchased another copy of The Lightning Thief from Percy Jackson, because I want to read that series again, and then finally read like the newer ones that I never got around to. But it's
Oh, I thought you just fell over.
it's this thing's fault.
Yeah.
This is why I can't get things done, because freaking Pokemon Shield.
I'm the same way. I used to read a ton, you know, kind of when I was in the same age window. Like I read just voraciously when I was a kid, and then at a certain point, probably around early high school, I just stopped reading a lot, and then I kind of dropped off. And every year I'm making my New Year's resolution to like read more, and I never do. I think I finished like maybe 1 or 2 books this year, and that's nothing. Right?
Yeah.
I finished like 4, and I'm really proud of that.
Well, I actually hear from a lot of people that kind of go through the same thing that we've been going through, and I wonder if like, especially for like being in university, you have to read so much for school that it's like not fun to read in any other capacity.
Well, exactly. I always think about it as like, I'm really well read for a person who doesn't read anymore. Like how many times did they make me read the Odyssey? Like 3 times in university?
Yeah, exactly.
Do it in my sleep.
See, like I listen to a lot of audiobooks like at work and stuff, but this year I bought just under 30 of them. Bought and listened to all of them. I really like audiobooks.
Yeah. Well, what's weird is that like I downloaded Audible to my phone so I could get a start on it, and for some reason like all of the books that were on there, like I couldn't find any book that I actually would have like been genuinely interested in reading. And I know there's a lot of self-help books on there, which I would self-help, not self-health, although I guess they're one and the same, aren't they? I've heard like people really like those kind of books, and in the audiobook format, it's actually like a really good way to kind of consume that content.
Well, along that same topic, that was something I was going to bring up today, is New Year's resolution, and if you believe in them and what you would do. Like, what is your thing?
Well, what are yours?
I think it's stupid. I honestly do. But this year I thought, you know what? I'm just not going to hold back anymore. I'm just going to be, as much as weird as this is going to sound, because I'm already kind of an asshole, I'm just not going to try to not hurt people's feelings anymore. I'm just going to tell them straight up how it is.
Yeah. I mean,
not hold back. That's what I'm gonna try not to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I respect that. I think it's important to be more kind of genuine and straightforward. Just don't hurt my feelings too much on them. For me, in New Year's resolutions, I believe in them, but I also don't believe in their effectiveness, because I don't remember the last time I actually fulfilled a New Year's resolution that I set for myself, and I hate letting myself down in that way. I really hate setting a standard for myself and then not meeting it. My resolutions this year are to start hitting the gym again, which is like everybody's resolution always. And like,
you're that guy.
Yeah, and whether or not I'm actually going to fulfill that. And then there's some kind of smaller ones. You know, like I really want to work on like being more self-confident. And I think the gym is going to help with that. But like, I feel like maybe they just need a different approach, because like being like on date like January 1st, just being like, all right, time to start resolutions. Just I feel like it just, if you don't meet that precedent that you've set for yourself right away, that resolution may as well just not be happening, right? And so I don't know. I
So
think,
like, are you saying like it doesn't give you like the motivation to like follow through? Like there's not an incentive? Like,
I mean, I guess so. I don't know exactly what I'm saying. I just think like maybe intending on improving yourself or doing better just has to be a consistent mentality and not something that you decide to do on the onset of a new year. Like on the other hand though, I do have like goals that I want to set for myself in 2020. Like I'm going to graduate university in 2020, so I'd like to maybe try and get a career job before the end of the year, and like, you know, stuff like that. I don't know. I want to start the new decade as my best self. So I think it's important to start it off on a high note.
Yeah, see, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions as far as like them being massive like life goals or anything like that. I think a lot of people use New Year's resolutions to be like, new year, new me. I'm gonna turn my life around. It's gonna be a complete lifestyle change. No, in my experience, it never works for anybody.
Yeah.
So I see them as more like little goals that you set for yourself, and I normally make like one, and then that's it. Like last year's like, oh, I'm going to read more this year. That didn't happen. I didn't meet that goal, but I did a whole lot of other stuff that I didn't plan on this year that worked out really well for me. So it's not a complete wash. This year I was thinking I'd like to write, I'd like my like little goal to be, I want to write one song every month.
Okay,
because
that's kinda cool.
I just haven't been writing enough lately. And, you know, I used to write a ton when I was playing music on the reg, and it's dropped off a little bit. So kind of to push myself to get back into it a little bit more, I'd like to challenge myself to write a song every month or finish a song I've already started, because I've got a lot of stuff on the back burner.
That's a good cool, Jack.
What's that?
Like, I mean, I don't know, like I'm stepping on your creative process or anything, but like you run a D&D campaign. It might be cool to like make a song for a specific encounter.
That's cool. I mean, I kind of thought about doing stuff like that. I thought about doing that. Remember with the harpsichord puzzle?
Yeah.
During Ghost Fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about doing that. Like writing a little thing for that, or like having like writing songs for like certain like you guys are in the tavern and the band is playing this song that it gives a little bit of exposition into the world or whatever. And then you got to go talk to him to see what the song's about, and then maybe it'll lead to something. So I've thought about doing that before. So maybe I will make something like that.
That'd be pretty neat.
Would be neat.
Austin asks, who's your favorite D&D monster?
My favorite D&D monster. Oh,
That's a really big list, isn't it?
That's
a really large list.
That is a massive question. I have a soft spot for mind flayers. I think mind flayers are really cool and kind of embody D&D really well. I think they're, you know, really this quintessential like kind of abomination that is really sunk into the D&D mythos. That's I really like. I like a lot of the demonic princes, like I think Grozd is really cool. I think that Demogorgon is a classic. I don't know if he's necessarily one of my favorites, but yeah, I like stuff like that.
I like sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I like I don't know if it's the real, but the Balrog.
The Balrog from like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there's one like that in the book. I don't remember the name, but he's got a whip and horns and stuff. Also, we joke about a Tarrasque in a trench coat a lot, so I like that.
Yeah, the Tarrasque. Yeah, definitely. Tiamat is a classic villain. I think Tiamat's really cool.
I'm gonna try to find it.
Yeah,
because I have D&D Beyond.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they might have something that looks like a Balrog, but for copyright reasons, they wouldn't be able to call it that because the Tolkien estate are a bunch of dicks.
Grayden, it's a like Belor, Belor.
Yeah,
it's
Belor.
Yeah.
Baylor,
Yeah. So there you go.
I googled best monsters in D&D because I don't know, and there's something called an owl bear, so I'm gonna go with that.
Owlbear is a longtime classic
Is
D&D
it?
monster. Yeah, appeared in the first edition. It was literally just a mix between an owl and a bear, and people love it. There's a bunch of other ones like from the first edition monsters manual that have withstood the test of time, like the Rust monster. People seem to really like the Rust monster. I think it instills fear in players because it's not very powerful, but if you fail your saving throw against or whatever, it can immediately melt any metal that you have on you. So if you have like a really awesome sword, say goodbye to that awesome sword.
Oh, shoot.
I literally Googled Rust, and the first result on Google is Rust Monster.
Oh, wow.
They know.
They know that you're Googling D&D villains.
Oh, D&D.
Yeah.
Peter, what do you have in the way of New Year's resolutions? Is that something you usually subscribe to?
No, usually not. My sorry, got lost. I got distracted by the chat. Usually I just kind of do, I guess they're kind of like yearly goals, but I don't like go out and set them, you know. I'll kind of just be like, now's a good time to do this when midway throughout the year and kind of do it like that. But no, I don't really set New Year's resolutions. I'm not going to follow it. Why even bother? That's kind of my mindset.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's not a great feeling to be really convinced that you're gonna set a New Year's resolution for yourself and then just immediately like don't do that, right? Like that's something I've kind of gone through like the past like few years, is constantly setting standards for myself and then not meeting them and then just feeling really bad as a result.
But the thing is, you can do that any time of the year. That's why I don't like New Year's resolutions. It's like, I'm going to read new books starting now. So you can do that any time.
You know what the funny thing is? Last year, on New Year's Eve, I was sick, so I started reading a book, and I read like over 2/3 of that book that night, and then I finished it like literally 6 months later. That was one of the books I read this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Drew says best monster is the camel.
The camel?
Yeah. Then out of the hump of the camel comes a baby Tarrasque. Got him.
Yikes.
So for those of you not in the know, the Tarrasque is one of the most terrifying monsters in D&D lore. It's a massive like Goliath dinosaur looking thing with like just tan skin and horns coming off it everywhere. It's stupid as hell. There's only one of it in the entire world, I guess. And it's the only reason it's not wreaking havoc right now is because it's asleep. So if it ever gets awoken, it just goes on a rampage. In the 5th edition Monsters Manual, it is the only monster with a challenge rating of 30. So
what does that mean?
So challenge rating is how difficult a monster is. The lowest a monster can be is a challenge rating of 1/8.
Oh my gosh.
So for 5th edition, there's currently only 2 monsters that have been printed that have a challenge rating of 30. One of them is Tiamat, but she doesn't appear in the Monsters Manual. So there you go. It's a big boy. It has resistance to everything except like magic with saving throws, I think. So if you try to hit it, it's not going to work. If you shoot most regular magic at it, it can be reflected back at you.
Oh my god.
And it's like 700 hit points or something ridiculous like that. So yeah.
Have you heard of
You're gonna have a bad time.
the Kuatoa, like fish
the
people?
Kuatoa, yeah, the like little fishy frog people.
Yeah, like whoever they worship essentially gets the status of a god or whatever.
Yeah, they I think their religion is based around like worshiping this weird dark entity that I read up on them once, but yeah, they're like these lame little fish people, like froggy fish people that are easy to kill, but it's possible for them to like summon basically a god that can end the world or something like that. Yeah.
Austin says, leads to some really fun and funny encounters. Recommends us look it up.
Very true.
Definitely. Maybe I'll throw them at you guys in the new year.
We're already dealing with fish people, so
yeah. Well, actually, you guys are going into another encounter, and you have not had a long rest in quite a while.
Yeah.
So,
man, where we are, where we left off, there's no way we're not doing any big encounter.
I remembered this, Peter. You're a warlock, so you got your spell slots back on a short rest.
Good day to be me.
All 2 of them, and you'd only used 1 of them.
Yeah.
So you have spell slots. I don't know if anyone else does.
Not
Shout
our
out
cleric.
to the healer, the cleric, with 1 spell slot left.
I've realized today I know so little about 5th edition sorcerer, or not today, a few days ago I was reading up on the sorcerer. I was like, we have a sorcerer in the party, and sorcerers can spend their sorcery points to create spell slots.
Oh,
So I was like,
interesting.
So So Tana, our sorcerer, can actually make some new spell slots because you guys are going to need them.
Did you make them for other people?
No.
Grayden's like, whatever.
You guys know nothing about this. Jack is just sitting with this like diabolical plot in his mind, just like, I'm going to ruin these guys' day.
Yeah.
Saturday night's going to be your least favorite night of the week, baby.
That's actually a good idea for a homebrew magic item, though. Like, allows a sorcerer to use their sorcery points to create spell slots for other spellcasters in the party. That's actually a cool idea. I might have to make something like that.
We'll go into that magic shop and be like, wow, look at this item.
I will buy everything that is related to spell slots. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Heal you dickheads all the time. Running into burning buildings.
You were the one who sent the building on fire.
I didn't tell them to run into it.
Oh, God. I love D&D, man. D&D just, like, keeps me going sometimes. It's so fun. It's such a great experience.
I've always been super like impressed by what it was because like I've only been in one campaign and I was only in it for like a relatively short time, but like I was just so impressed by like how D&D can bring you an experience that no book, no video game, no movie can ever do. Like being able to actively like influence how this world unfolds and stuff like that, and it being like all from like the mind of the people that you're playing with is just like so cool. And like if I had the time to just completely commit, I would just go in on a D&D session.
Eventually I would love to do some D&D LC.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the dream.
Oh, that would be a lot of fun. Because then,
We'll call it LC and C.
what's the other C stand for?
Cry.
Live connection and combat.
The intro video is just Peter and I swinging swords at each other.
I just imagine it's like an arena then. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. You were a druid, if I'm not mistaken, in
That's right.
the campaign you played in.
I was a dark elf druid, and like it was cool doing it with Ron because basically like you bring kind of your initial designs for the character to Ron, and he like fleshes it out and kind of makes it fit within your world. So the backstory of my character was that he's basically searching for an artifact that gives him the power of a god, and basically like the what Ron kind of implemented was that like he was in a search party with, I forget his name, it was like I totally forget what I named the guy, but like he's basically in a search party with like a bunch of other people, and you get betrayed and everybody dies, but then it gets pinned on you. So that's why like the druid was a hermit. He was he was basically searching for it in the wilderness by himself for like years, and then somehow came across the rest of the party and stuff. And so like the main stuff I'd use is I had like a little sword, but I would usually do like ice knives, and I would transform into a giant wolf most of the time to fight. That was cool. The whole transforming into animals mechanic was like sick. I would, even though there's so many different classes, I would genuinely consider being a druid again, just because like what was made available for my character was pretty dope. So
yeah. Druids are like some of the most naturally broken classes in the game. If you can get a druid to level 20 and you choose the Circle of the Moon subclass, it's basically impossible for you to die.
Really? How does that work?
So the thing that allows you to turn into an animal is called Wild Shape. In 5th edition, if you take the Circle of the Moon subclass, it builds that class feature up more. So the Circle of the Moon your Wild Shape becomes more potent. So you can shape change into creatures with a higher challenge rating than just a regular druid can. And you can do it as a bonus action instead of using it as an action. So you can take your bonus action, transform, and then still like attack or something like that on the turn that you transform. If you get to 20th level, you get to shape change an unlimited number of times. You can use your spells while you're shape changed. So you can be like a bear that's casting crazy spells.
Oh my God.
And since you gain the hit points, the temporary hit points for whatever you are, if you get knocked down to 0, you just revert to your druid form, but next turn you can just bonus action turn into something else and lose basically none of your real HP.
Yeah. I remember that being like, that really worked in my favor a lot, because I would be in my wolf form and I'd be like about to die, and then it actually happened. I was like, oh my God, is that it? Am I dead? And they're just like, oh no, you just go back to druid form. I was like, yay. Also like the wild shape also kind of works well during like kind of the non-combat elements. Like I remember we encountered a giant wolf who was like running away from people, and like for us, we're just on like a hill or something and see a giant wolf running at us, and we're like, oh no. woo! But like, it turns out it was running away from something. So I transformed into a wolf so I could communicate with it. And then, yeah, it was a cool experience.
Yeah, the wild shape can definitely has its uses in role play. I told this story, I think last week, but I don't think we were on camera when we did it. In the big campaign where Ron was our DM, I played human fighter because I'm a basic bitch. And Grayden played were you chaotic evil or lawful evil?
Yeah, it was chaotic evil.
He played a chaotic evil tiefling druid.
Yeah.
You were Circle of the Land, so you were less
Circle of the Coast.
Circle of the Coast. But he shape changed into an owl and sat on my shoulder, and we went up to some woman's house, and turns out she was terrified of owls because Ron was memeing with us, and he made this entire side quest where we had to go fight a bunch of giant owls who were like taking people away, like abducting people in the night and killing them for food. And then it turned out 2 of the giant owls were actually just druids who had shape changed into giant owls, who saw all the other giant owls as like their children. So they died, and then Grayden chopped their heads off while we slept.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
What sucks is... Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And we were all terrified of owls after that. All of us.
Like, just in like real life, like you'd like see a picture of an owl and you're like...
Well, the joke was based on the library episode from Avatar The Last Airbender, where Wan Shi Tong, the giant owl who looks after the library, it turns into like that snake owl demon. It was like... so terrifying, and that was just a joke that we all had, so Ron decided to double down on it. We've had like every campaign we've played since then, we've had owl motifs. Grayden's current character in my campaign is a cleric who worships an owl god of death from like an Egyptian pantheon in the desert.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
What sucks is I didn't play enough to get assigned an alignment, which I think is really interesting, because like the alignment mechanic, like you could adjust one of your players' alignments at any time if they did a certain action that kind of was really bad, right? And like, does that change? Like, is there any type of like behavior or just actions that you have to do because you are of a certain alignment? Or?
So this is an interesting point. Everyone does it differently, depending on your DM. Some people stick hard to the alignment system. They're like, there are these 9 alignments, and you are stuck to it, and any deviation from that can result in me changing your alignment or stuff like that. Personally, I actually don't care what your character's alignment is, because the alignment system is really rigid for what an actual, person would be like in my experience. Yeah. Because, sometimes you're going to act, lawful good depending on what's happening, but you could skew towards like chaotic good depending on like what's going on in your life. It's like, oh, well, I have to briefly break this law since there aren't any cops around or something like that. Yeah. Or, they could be like, oh, I really want this thing, so I'm going to break a window on this shop and steal it or whatever. So to me, I don't care about alignment as long as you're role playing your character well. I just say that like, you can write your alignment down on your sheet if you want to. I'm not going to be keeping track of it because I don't care. Because, so if you can, save a child from a burning building and then stab his mother in the guts or something like that as soon as you get out. So like, there's really no rhyme or reason to how a player character is going to act.
There is one class that's kind of locked into that. That's Paladin, because they have to be
right
for their god.
This is a common misconception with Paladin. Actually, Paladins do not have to uphold an alignment. They just have to uphold an oath. So whatever they do, they have to swear an oath, whether that oath is like, I'm going to take revenge on all evildoers, like, most boring vanilla paladins will be. There's nothing in the player's handbook saying that you have to be lawful good to be a paladin.
If I'm going to take an oath to be lawful good, that's basically what's going on. But some people are like, oh, you have to play paladin lawful good, otherwise you lose your paladin powers, or you have to become like I can't remember what the name of it is. It's like a scourged paladin or something like that, a fallen paladin, something like that. I can't remember, but
so considering the fact that like the alignment has no real gameplay consequence, do you think that when you assign people an alignment, it kind of gives them more of a structure for what their decisions when they role play? Or
I mean, the thing is with alignment, it's part of character creation. So it's up to the players to decide what their alignment is going to be. It's not like I'm assigning it to them unless I was keeping track of that. Things like you're a lawful good character and you just slaughtered an innocent family of 5. That's not something a lawful good person would do. Maybe change your alignment for me, which I've seen happen in campaigns, but I've never done it because I don't keep track of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I remember Ron changed Quinn's alignment. Quinn was like a really funny, I think either a dwarf or a gnome.
She plays a gnome Beastmaster Ranger.
Yeah, and she was like in the circus and stuff. So we custom made like a special move for her called confetti knives, where she basically like flips onto the scene and then just throws knives everywhere, and it can damage allies as well. And I think she did that and like hurt a bunch of innocents. And Ron was just like, your alignment has now changed, and like that was just like law basically. Yeah, that campaign was pretty fun.
It depends on the DM. Some people really care about alignments. Some people don't. I'm of the camp that they don't really matter. Just play your character well, and sometimes you'll do good things. Sometimes you'll do bad things. In my experience, the characters often do bad things. But it is what it is.
Okay, last question in terms of alignment then. So knowing that Grayden is chaotic evil, you said?
He was chaotic evil in Ron's campaign. His druid, Eugene Throbcock was his name.
The one and only.
Eugene Throbcock, the chaotic evil druid of the coast.
Oh wow. So
he was a complex character.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was your rank major? Were you?
I was colonel.
Colonel. Okay, Colonel Eugene Throbcock, lawful chaotic evil druid of the coast.
Wow. So knowing that you were chaotic evil in that campaign, yet the whole point of a campaign is that you have to cooperate with all these other people, like, does that ever throw a wrench into things? Like, is it ever...
It's funny you bring that up.
Oh, gosh.
Do you want to tell this one?
I don't know. It depends which one you're thinking about. Why don't you go ahead?
Well, I was just going to tell him about like the criminal empire like how you met your fate on the winds of time.
Yeah. I started an underground criminal empire that's like quickly sprawled the nation. And like everywhere we went, I would have contacts in places, and like I had hitmans. There was even a time where I was considering killing some of our party members by just sending a squad after them. And I had that. All I had to do was pull the trigger. I should have. I regret that.
Oh my god!
But I thought you were comparing to the point, because there was one session where I did, like, I was looking at it, I was like, I'm chaotic evil. I don't do enough evil stuff. And then I went and like slaughtered an orphanage or something. I just did something completely.
What? So you guys are just walking through a town and you're like, "Ooh, orphanage, gotta go."
I was like, "I'll be right back," and then and then I did something.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he was good. He was.
Yes, he normally worked with the group very well. All things considered, because
he was a colonel after
he did. He had things to do. Yes, we were part of an organization known as the Silver Shield, which was kind of like a professional paramilitary organization that was separate from like the main government, but was hired out by the main government. So I was like one of the top generals. I was like probably 3rd or 4th in command of the entire organization. And then under me, it was like Jackson's character and Grayden's character. And then like everyone else in the party were kind of like lower ranks than that.
I see.
Because you were colonel. I think Jackson was a major. So we all had to kind of work together, but we kind of within a really loose hierarchy of our goals. It was a very fun campaign. It's still a campaign that we played it longer than any other campaign. It was a 2-year-long campaign. Yeah, all in all.
That is a long campaign.
Yeah, we only played it during the summers because everyone was at school in different parts of the world. But it was a weekly campaign for 4 months out of the year. So, whatever that is, 8 times 4, because 1 session a week or whatever. But
did that campaign actually reach a conclusion?
It did. It reached a conclusion where Ron had kind of written this storyline for the first summer that we played it, but we had made so many just dumb jokes and memes along the way that the second year we came back, it was like, we're just going to play the same campaign. We're just going to do part 2 of that. And the reason that was, when I made my character, I was like, oh, humans get a second language when you create them. So I'm looking through the languages. I'm like, I don't really want any of these languages, because someone else in the party is going to have them. Like, I'm going to pick Goblin as my language. And it's like, my whole thing is I'm an ex-pirate who is searching for treasure, but very specifically was interested in the history of the lost goblin civilization of Goblantis.
Goblantis. Oh my gosh.
So the entire second part of the campaign that we did on our second year was we got a tip-off on the mystical city of Goblantis I've been searching for my entire life.
Oh my God.
So it's like... And we were criminals at that point because we had pissed off the king and had gotten a lot of people killed.
Unreal.
There's so much so many stories from this campaign. It would take us forever to go on about them. But basically what happened was we got a tip off and we were like, we're going to go find the lost city of Goblantis.
Wow. And did you succeed?
We did.
Yay.
Turns out the lost city of Goblantis was less of a city and more of an extra dimensional space where eldritch horrors come true.
Oh.
So I had my will taken over. I sacrificed a girl, threw her in a fountain, and then became a 20-foot tall walking abomination. And I disintegrated Grayden.
Oh.
And that's how Eugene died.
That's how.
And it was like, there's no, with disintegration, as is in the name, there's no savings throw, there's no healing,
no nothing.
there's just dust.
Yeah.
Wow.
If it reduces you to 0 HP, you just die.
Wow, unreal. And that's how Colonel
Colonel Eugene,
Colonel
Eugene Throbcock, chaotic evil druid of the West coast, met his end.
the West Coast.
Evil witch of the West.
D&D is just a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Truly.
In
Yeah.
so many ways.
Yeah.
Because everyone has stories like that. Everyone who's ever played D&D has a story like that. There's a really good series on YouTube done by an animator called Dingo Doodles. She's Canadian, and she just tells stories about through animation about a campaign that she's in with her and some of her friends, about how she played a wild magic sorcerer who is an awakened monkey. And he accidentally cast a spell and unleashed the Tarrasque.
Oh, yikes.
Oh my,
While he was singing karaoke.
oh my gosh.
It's great. We'll watch it later. Maybe. But
That's awesome.
It's awesome. You can find her on YouTube. I think the page is just called Dingo Doodles. She's awesome. I really like her content.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love D&D. It's so rad. I wasn't expecting to talk about D&D tonight.
Well, I mean, I like for the short time I was in it, I enjoyed Ron's campaign, and he deserves a lot of respect for like how meticulously planned those campaigns are, and like how good like kind of storytelling is
For sure.
there. I definitely wish I'd stayed a part of it a little longer. But
well, hey, if we ever have an opening, or if you just want to like play one night and like make a quick character that we can throw in at some other point, then you can come join our campaign. You don't have to be a permanent fixture of it or anything like that. But if we do ever have an opening and we need a full-time member, maybe that could go to you. I think I promised it to one other person, but I think we might lose.
Yeah.
one
Send
or two
in your
people.
resume.
Yeah, exactly. I love playing D&D with new people and seeing what happens. So,
Well, I think like the thing that I struggled with was just the consistent time commitment.
For
like
sure.
Mitch really wanted to get me in his campaign, and like the people that are in it are like it sounds like a really awesome assortment. But it's on Monday nights, and I train away time on Monday nights.
And it's a big drive for you.
Yeah.
You live in Bragg, and then like Ron was doing it in the complete opposite end of the city.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's actually decently easy for me to get to Ron's compared to most people because I just take 22x. So
But
Oh,
it
fair.
wasn't
not
that
bad.
time, though.
It was still very time consuming, and it was hard to do in the winter because like every once in a while we do it at like Pat and Quinn's place and stuff, and I'm doing 22x either way. But like I remember I had to drive home through a snowstorm after a session, and that was not fun.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I think Peter pulled up a topic that'd be kind of a good one to close things off a bit. What do you got for us, Pete?
It was the game was the gold thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we really have time for that because we're already pretty much at our closing time.
Oh,
All right.
Sorry, did we consume like all the time?
yeah,
with other things?
we're at the
You're
end.
talking about Witcher and D&D.
This was a Jack centric podcast.
Hey, it's all good. Okay, all right. Forget whatever you'd say, Peter. One more thing. How many franchises can you overlay D&D? Because I thought of a way to do a Pokemon D&D.
I think it's out there already.
It probably is, but like I feel like it's just never ever going to be something that like Nintendo / Game Freak / Pokemon
it'll never be like an
it'll
official
probably
thing.
never be licensed.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, well, just
Probably a bunch of homebrew stuff. for it.
Yeah, well, because what I realize is you can take the same kind of core basis of D&D and use Pokemon Showdown because it builds Like you'd have to have a lot of knowledge. Like obviously I would DM as much as I would love to actually play in that. You'd have to have an obscene amount of knowledge on like the mechanics of the game, including like how much experience I've seen them. There are massive equations that calculate things about like cash rate for Pokemon, how much EXP you get when you defeat a Pokemon, and you'd have to do those calculations every single time.
I found a homebrew that's comprehensive, 182 pages.
Holy smokes.
That's probably the bare minimum that you would need.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to overhaul a lot of mechanics.
Yeah.
And like come up with a lot of stuff. Well, maybe not overhaul mechanics, but you'd have to like recontextualize things for flavor reasons.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the core rules of 5th edition D&D are laid out in such a way that, you know, you're fighting and killing monsters as opposed to like using a set of things that already exist within Pokemon canon to like,
Well, I think like some ways that you'd have to make that work are wouldn't necessarily have to be set in like the Pokemon universe. You could really just take it wherever, you know, it could be your own thing. If you have a party and you battle a Pokemon, you can only have as many people battling as there are enemies to battle. So you could in theory do like a horde battle and have 5 Pokemon battling against you, and every trainer that's part of the campaign will send out at least one Pokemon until they need to match how many Pokemon there are. If you encounter another trainer in the field, you can only send one of your trainers in the party to battle. Like I feel like there's a lot of things you'd have to take into consideration, but I don't think it would be impossible, especially since you could use like Pokemon Showdown, which is just like an online Pokemon battle simulator, saves you the effort of like building Pokemon teams. It's always been a really amazing resource, and it has a team builder function where you fill out your teams, you give them their moves, you build your teams, right? So you could use that to track the things, and you could even possibly use it to actually stage the battles that you have, right? Like for example, 2 of the trainers in the campaign could battle each other, and you would just have like 2 computers running Showdown and have them each do like the different thing, or like, you know, like and if it's against an NPC, then like I or somebody else would like just control that trainer and just try to be like a dumb NPC would and stuff like that. So I feel like it would work, but like, you know, you said Witcher D&D, like you could totally do a Witcher D&D. And
I tried.
We
Grayden ran a campaign based on he did a campaign based on the Witcher 3 expansion Hearts of Stone.
It went pretty well, I think, overall. The problem I had with it is it was too structured. I followed too closely because like they were like, I want to go and do this thing. I'm like, no, but you can't. You gotta stick to the story.
We got the bad ending.
Yeah, they did get the bad ending.
Wow. Like, and so did you have to change a lot of rules and mechanics to fit in?
I didn't really have to change many mechanics.
Yeah.
I mean, mechanically 5th edition would work fine in the Witcher universe. The only real problem that ran into was like just flavor stuff, because, you know, D&D has like all these exotic fantasy races and all these exotic things, whereas Witcher is a universe where it's like it's not a high magic universe, it's more of a low to like mid magic universe, and the rest of it's just medieval Europe basically.
I see. Interesting.
So, you know, the Witcher 3 doesn't have like dragonborn people walking around or like tieflings or anything like that, so you just have to reflavor everything and say like, this the Witcher universe is just, there's a bunch of other shit in here that is not normally in the Witcher universe.
I assume you just have to kind of like look at all the columns of like rules, mechanics, like what have you, that make up D&D and just make adjustments that help match whatever franchise you're trying to.
Hey Peter, how did I do in that? Did you have a good time?
I had a good time. It was my first D&D campaign, but I had no complaints.
Actually, I played a little bit as well, because Grayden asked me to roll up a character sheet, a 20th level character who was Geralt. I got some wish fulfillment and got to play Geralt.
Oh, nice!
So I found like a Witcher homebrew online. Is like, this looks unbalanced as hell, but I'm still gonna do it.
That was really hard on my end too, because like here comes Geralt, this level 20 thing, who's gonna tag along with the party who all a bunch of level 5. So like specific encounters like, Geralt, go fight these really hard enemies. The rest of the party, fight these people.
Pretty much I said Geralt can't come for this adventure.
Remember, it was during the caretaker boss fight, who's the guy who has the shovel. In the Hearts of Stone expansion, they went to fight the regular guy, and Grayden threw me against 4 of his doppelgangers or something like that. It's like, luckily I have this very specific feature that allows me to attack all 4 of them at once. And I think I did a lot of damage, but then they did like almost my max damage when they got their turn. So it's like, oh,
they rolled really well against that. But you hung on for like 5 rounds for them to finally kill the dude, and then the rest of them dispelled. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
It was very fun.
I would love to DM again at some point. I would definitely not have it as structured. I would do it more freehand.
Yeah, I feel like I think DMing has got to be like really, really difficult, because you must have so much intricate knowledge on how D&D works. You have to have a campaign built to your taste and everything. Like, I feel like it's equally, if not more, as fulfilling and exciting an experience as playing in a campaign.
As a first-time DM, starting to DM this campaign in the over the past summer and carrying on to now, I'm enjoying it more than actually playing D&D right now. Yeah. It feels really natural to me, and I feel like I'm doing a pretty decent job of it, but I'm the wrong person to ask. You should ask these two, since they're actually playing
I think you've been killing it. I think you've been doing a great job.
I think the more you play, the more you learn. A lot of things have helped me. There's a lot of resources out there. Critical Role, watching that increased my D&D knowledge like tenfold. Basically.
And if you're inspired by the way they like the dungeon master of that series manages it, then you can kind of take some elements of the way that they do it into it.
I'm basically just have taken a page out of the book of Matt Mercer, and that's how I DM now. That's a lot of ways.
Hey, it's working.
Awesome. But every time you finish a session, you're like, well, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. What do I do to improve next time? It's like, and then you do see an improvement over. So it's really cool. I'm enjoying it a whole lot. I'm gonna be in Australia for 3 months. Can't play D&D. Really looking.
You're gonna be itching for it when you get back.
I think we're about to wrap up. But I just have one quick question. I was thinking about on the way over here. I was listening to some Ninja Sex Party, and I don't know what song it was, but they're sex party. They sing about fun stuff. And I got to thinking, what is the most sexually active time in human history, where just everyone was getting laid left, right, and center? I was thinking probably sometime during Rome's height and power.
Isn't that when they had the orgies on the street? Was that then?
But I was thinking
I don't know.
Took a real turn, didn't it?
I think in terms of population and access to pornography and just resources to get things that you need for that, it's probably now. People do it behind closed doors, but people now, I think, are probably fucking more than ever.
And there's just so many different ways to do that. You can get in suits with tails and fuck each other. You can
dress up as your favorite Pokemon.
Maybe it was maybe it's.
I didn't mean to say yes. I didn't mean to say yeah. It was just part of the conversation. I didn't mean to say yes. I disagree. Don't pretend to be Pokemon and fucking shit. Don't even think about Pokemon.
I mean, you do whatever you want to do. That's on you.
Purely.
I'm gonna make sure to download that moment and analyze all of Matt's facial features.
You were saying, Jack.
No, I think that wraps it up pretty nicely.
Here's an interesting tidbit. I forget if it's Greek history or Greek mythology, but basically there's a temple of Aphrodite where women of a certain town or age or what have you basically have to go into that temple naked and wait until somebody comes and has sex with them, and they're not allowed to leave until someone comes and has sex with them. So if you're just a not so good looking girl, you're gonna wither away in there.
I've never heard of that.
I forget which Greek and Roman studies.
Can you imagine that just in regular Greek and conversation? It's what are you doing today? I'm gonna head up to the house on the hill.
Go to the temple, baby.
Temple of Aphrodite.
Temple Tuesdays.
I guess you're right. That is kind of things now, just much on a bigger scale, more accessible.
I learned something very interesting. My friend Lucy, who was staying with us for a while, she told me she went on a date with a guy. Nice. And I think the guy brought her to this place not with any intentions, just because it seemed like a good spot. And it turns out that there's a thing where if you drive to a location like this in your vehicle and there's just a bunch of vehicles parked around and you flash your lights at another vehicle, you're indicating to them that they can come in your car and have sex with you. So it's just a place that people go to bonk in their cars. Essentially,
Make Out Hill. like in all the movies and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
precisely.
Anal
like,
point.
like you know, the cool guy from school and Cindy, the cheerleader, the head cheerleader, go on a date on Friday night in the bad boys muscle car, and they go up to make out point.
Yes, but instead
And
of
then they
making
get killed by a guy wielding a chainsaw.
Yes. Yeah, that's the best outcome.
There you go.
Anyway.
Great.
That's
Well,
a podcast.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and watching LC Podcast number 32, the episode of Witcher, D&D, and sexual intercourse. My 3 favorite things, baby.
My favorite thing. Probably my 3 favorite things.
That sounds like a pretty good time, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Nothing like the holiday season.
I know. Let's make
Yes.
that our Saturday nights from now.
Thank you for indulging me today. It felt really good to talk about the things I like. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time.
Tweet us your resolutions if you have any.
Do it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.